Hey, vinyl community, and welcome YouTubers from everywhere. The other day, my 12-year-old Krista was sitting here listening to a 1928 tune on her iPhone. Tell me about it.
It was a song by a woman named Kane, who she was kind of like had that flapper aesthetic, and the song was called "I Want to Be Loved by You."
We're gonna play that tune a little bit in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get interested in that?
I like vintage things, and she's mostly related to Betty Boop topics.
But you were teaching me stuff about the old days. How about this Esther Jones? I didn't know anything about that.
She is known as the real Betty Boop.
The real Betty Boop. You're going to see and hear a little bit. Well, you maybe won't see her. You'll hear a little bit about her if you stay tuned. So what made you curious to find out about stuff from the olden days?
Like I said, I like vintage things, and this is a very old topic, but not a spoken about topic.
Yeah, it's one of those topics that not hardly anybody knows anything about. More research needs to be done. Kane, she was known as the Boop Boop Doop Girl, says so right here on the cover of this album. The tune we're going to play a little bit for you here is from 1928, a great tune. So all of the originals would have been on 78s. Now, they were all put on this LP in the 1950s. That LP is hard to come by. But this is a reissue of that LP in 1981. And so happy to get that. Hold that album up closer to the camera. Let's get a picture of that cover. Yeah, we like that 1920s flapper kind of vibe. But she is kind of known as the person that inspired Betty Boop. But you got to hear the rest of the story.
I want to be loved by you, just you. Nobody else but you. I want to be loved by you alone. Boop, boop, da-doo.
Take Two Records. There's a copy of the record. Got this, of course, off of Discogs. Nice, a VG Plus record. Yeah, of course, what we're talking about here is the cartoon. The cartoon was popular almost throughout all of the 1930s. Good cartoon. At my very open, you saw just a little bit of the Betty Boop cartoon. They're kind of fun. Check them out. They're practically all of them on YouTube. But still not the best part of the story. The great part of this story is that the real inspiration for Betty Boop was Esther Jones. She was a little black girl, like 12 years old in Chicago, that was dancing and singing. She got to be really famous, moved on to New York, was famous, and then in the latter part of the 20s, they went to Europe, where she was the rage of Europe for 3 or 4 years and performed in front of royalty. There is only a few pictures in old European newspapers of her. There are no recordings. There's some people put up stuff on YouTube that they think maybe was her, but basically after the early 1930s, she disappears. So I'll leave a link to the story down here where the person looked up the old newspapers from Europe and tried to put a little history together. So I think you'll enjoy this, and this is something, the kind of stuff we don't see very often in the vinyl community, right?
Yep.
We aren't completely sure of the exact year that baby Esther Lee Jones was born. It was likely either in 1919 or 1921, and she grew up in Chicago. Being a child performer, it wasn't uncommon for parents or agents to purposely change the age of a famous child in order to make people think they were older or younger, depending on the motive. Anyway, baby Esther was a vaudeville performer who sang, danced, and acted in skits. She had started performing on the vaudeville circuit by at least 1926, though she had already had some dancing experience before then. And it was in her vaudeville performances that she incorporated nonsensical syllables and sounds into her singing. In other words, scatting. While scatting had been used in recordings for at least a decade, though had almost definitely existed for a longer time, it was in 1926 that Louis Armstrong really helped popularize it in jazz in his recording Heebie-Jeebies.
Okay, keep 'em spinning and see you all down the trail.
Happy trails to you until